Before to answer to your questions, it's a tough one. Huh? It's not an easy question to answer because there is a lot of parameters, a lot of criteria to take into considerations, and this is more the result of entire mechanism to take such decisions than only one argument. So I will try to answer to your questions maybe by giving to the audience a little bit more of context, if you don't mind. And apologize in advance, but I will take some shortcuts. So if you want to, obviously, it's more an invitation to have a follow-up discussions after. So I will try to summarize, and by this summary answering to the questions, by explaining you who we are, what we are doing, and why Romania is a key market for us. Simply, we are IPP. So for the past 15 years, we produce and sell energy. We manage all the activities from development to financing, constructions with EPC partner, and operations. One of the shortcuts is to say that more megawatts we have under operations, better it is. And to that effect, raising debt is key. It means that we have to have bankable projects to raise as much debt as we can in order to invest our equity in as many megawatts as we can. Because once more, we make money when we produce energy. As long-term IPP, we have always kept all our assets under operation. We have been successful by doing that, and our intentions is to accelerate significantly the growth of our assets under operations with the support of our shareholders, rupees. So this is in that context that we enter into Romania. And indeed, this is quite recent because we took decisions beginning of this year, and before maybe enter into the main arguments, we need to probably make one step before to discuss about that and discuss about Europe. We are very much involved in the dynamic in Europe with energy, no doubt about that. And there is a very interesting context right now, which is more a nexus of different cause, let's say. There is obviously national or political decisions. There is also geopolitical situation, there is economics, technical reason. So this is the reason why giving an answer to your questions is not so easy. So what we did, and this is applicable to all the market we enter, is obviously to take into considerations how we will operate our assets, in which conditions over 30 years, because this is exactly the perspective we have. So in Eastern Europe, and I have to go from Europe to Eastern Europe, we saw recently, while starting in 21, very important decisions from Europe, which is quite structuring for the market, is firstly the REPower EU fund, and secondly the modernizations fund. Those 2 points will help us, let's say, to forecast the market, or to expect to have enough structuring, enough comfort to take positions on the very long term when you operate assets. To that effect, in Balkans, Romania, for us, is a key market, and this is where we decided to enter into the region by structuring a platform in Bucharest with obviously a strategic partner, and starting by developing greenfield project, and this is where we want to step in. Greenfield project mean managing all the processes from originations, identifications of lands and so on, up to achieving all the, let's say, permitted phase, RTB, as we said, building permits, and investing in those assets and operate those assets. And for that, coming back to my first short explanations, having bankable projects means being able to have contracted revenue. And contracted revenue for us do not mean that we will be less exposed from an equity viewpoint, just means that we will be able to do more with the same equity, same amount of equity. And to that effect, what we see in the Balkans, the PPA dynamic mainly, the announcement of the CFD mechanism, make us, in terms of IPP, more confident to have a significant portfolio in the region. Focus on Romania, obviously. So I'm not sure that answer clearly to your questions, but the intention is really for us to take positions only in country where we can foresee long-term dynamic. And for that, the first stage, the first step into the strategy is to incorporate a platform with a dedicated team to understand clearly the market. And this is something we are doing with the help of the team, obviously, which will be located based. And with a clear perspective, we aim to have in 2030 500 megawatts under development, under operations, along with 200 megawatt hour of battery, BESS, a standalone. Because we think that anyway, BESS will be almost mandatory, whatever the country, to mitigate the impact of renewable energy on the grid. It's simply as that. Referring to the discussions we just had before, these presentations aim mainly to show you, let's say, some figures and to support the main arguments, which is why we enter into Romania. So the first slide, mainly to give you a few figures about the company, but this is not the main purpose of today. In a nutshell, we operate assets for more than 16 years now. We have 1 gigawatt under operations in France or under constructions, and a pipeline of more than 4 gigawatts. So once more, we operate the assets over 30 years and even more. So we are what we call the pure IPP. So coming back to what we said before, and the context, the overall context. So not sure that if you can, let's say, consider those numbers as definitive, because every time we discuss with some figures, every time we change the number. So meaning, I think that the most important here is to just consider the trajectory. And it's obvious now that in the next 5 years, we have to multiply by almost 3 the installed capacity in Europe. You can see that it's quite significant, it's quite complex, and we all know that all the considerations we have to have in mind are very difficult to modelize. So it's not only, focusing on one market, but it's focusing on all the interactions between those markets in Europe, but also outside. So from Europe, we can make a zoom to the region, as I said before, with the trajectory for the region. So same comments. I'm not sure that the number will not change in the next coming months, weeks, because every time we talk about figures, they change. So which is good, because in many cases those numbers are increasing. So if you see the dynamic here in Eastern Europe, we can see that in the next 5 years, so 2030, we will go from 18% of solar to 48, which is more than significant. It triggers also a lot of issues regarding the grid and obviously the way we can extract value from this energy produced. And coming back to the PPA, CFD, and let's say contracted revenue, this is a challenge, whatever the country. So now, if we want to focus on Romania, still some figures. Once more, it will change, no doubt. We aim by 2050, and I don't know how they have modelized figures by 2050, honestly. It's far, but the intentions, as far as I know, is to multiply by more than 22 the installed capacity, which is unthinkable. But if we had discussions 5 years before about the current trajectory, it was also unthinkable 5 years before. So I have to say that every time we are surprised and every time we need to revise our positions. So I would consider that firstly, the first trajectory in 2030, which is more than 3 gigawatts of installed capacity in Romania, is already a significant hit. So how we decide that Romania is a strategic country for us? There is, let's say, 3 main arguments. And once more, it's really a shortcut. So more than happy to discuss in details about those arguments. So the first one for us is EU, European Union, is an incredible accelerator for renewable right now. I briefly discussed about REPowerEU, which is very important because it aims to reduce dependency on Russian fossil fuel. And we see that it's strongly linked to the geopolitical situations, and we have any way to accelerate the transitions to renewable energy. The EU requirement also for the decarbonizing energy mix in Eastern Europe, and this is probably one of the drivers. One thing which is probably a very important driver right now is modernizations found deployed by Europe to dedicate it to the grid. And to improve the grid through obviously massive investment in infrastructure and or BESS storage to stabilize the grid and be authorized, let's say, the grid to absorb all of those renewable energy. And finally, in the context of Europe dynamic, there is also the resilience plan for renewable energy and the applicable conditions. This plan is also deployed for other countries, but it makes Romania market even more clear for us. So the second main argument is, 2 more questions in fact. Romania, from our perspective, will be a leading country in the region. It's obvious now that the regulatory changes are stabilized. We start to see a strong ecosystem for us to implement a solid renewable approach. We target also a very strong renewable penetration into the energy mix, and this is of course, I guess, of today's event, a well-balanced offtake scheme. I was referring to the necessity as an IPP to make bankable projects for the reason we discussed just before. The offtake scheme in Romania make us definitely, as an IPP, a long-term IPP, secure, let's say, some sort. So this is the reason why it's probably one of the main driver for the reason why we decided to enter into Romania is a perspective. And finally, the last category is questions again, whether or not Romania is a new development paradigm. We think yes. There is implementations, amendment of the national regulations to ease penetrations of storage. And storage is a way to mitigate also the PV cannibalization risk, and obviously enhancing grid stability. Increasing the demand for PPA leads to, by reducing carbon emissions, so it's all the topic of today. The low market penetrations for nuclear power plant. It's a complex technology, costly, and very long implementation phase. I'm French, so obviously nuclear is a hot topic for us. And fortunately, the geopolitical situations and the context were crucial. So all those, let's say, arguments make us very comfortable to target a portfolio under operations of 500 megawatts by 2030, and obviously leads also to investment decision, which is quite significant, and 200 megawatt hour of BESS. This is a way, as IPP, we structure our trajectory for Romania, and this is a way also we foresee our deployment in Romania in the coming years. Thank you.